Did I mention always learning and practicing better methods of managing that? Okay, that's
That
the
was next.
okay, that's the third bullet point in this main one. So you're always learning and practicing new methods to be a better manager. That's just continual learning is always a thing. The 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 products that have been available for financial like stuff are different now than they were 40 years ago. Um, the theology, the option, like it's just a social science. So the more years go by and the more professionals in it, we just learn better ways of doing it, or we can nuance. Life is so nuanced. There is
Mm-hmm.
no person that's exactly the same. There is no script that can be handed to you. Do this, do this, do this, do this, and you will be financially successful because life is
Mm-hmm.
so varied and each person is varied. So just constantly looking for new ways of improving. That's just part of that practice of being an
And
intentional steward.
I would say always trying to understand things that you don't understand already.
Mhm.
So whatever level of financial um knowledge or whatever that is that you have, I feel like I've learned so much just because I want to understand the things I don't understand. Maybe it's a 401k. Maybe it's investment um, things that your husband's company offers him or whatever. Maybe it's, I don't know, savings accounts, CDs, like whatever, investing, property investment, rental, and like, I don't know, like whatever it is that you just don't understand, Google it, find a podcast, just listen to a book once a year, whatever. I don't know. Just learn things that you just don't understand. Learn more about the things you don't understand. Get better at some kind of skill that you just don't feel like you're good at. Whatever that is. I think that's where I started years ago, was just, well, I don't even understand what a CD is. So I Googled it. What's a CD? Why would a person want one? What benefits does it have? Like whatever. And I started learning about CDs and I was like, "Oh, that's what he's talking about." Okay. So then over the years, as we're investing here and there and everywhere, I'm like, "Oh, well, I don't understand what that is. I'll Google it and I'll find out." Then we have conversations. Like that's how I've started to learn. And now here I am wanting to be the CFO of my family. And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." But 15 years ago, I would have said, "No way. I don't understand money. I don't understand how that goes. Don't bother me with it. Like, I don't want to know." But now I'm like, that's interesting to me. I want to learn more. I want to understand. I want to be more of a partner than the child in the relationship. And
Yes.
it's a way better feeling. It feels way better now than it did then. That feeling of accomplishment, my voice is being heard, those kinds of things. Like it feels way better now than it did then. So
And
yes,
tell me
do it.
this, Sherry, I'm curious. Um, when you have more information, when you feel like you understand more, does it does that make you want to be involved more?
Yeah.
Like was part of it just the ignorance?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to be honest, like this conversation, the money and the numbers is not something that I enjoy. It's not um my husband geeks out over it. Like he thinks about money and how to tweak the numbers, and if we invest here and if we invest there and if we pay this here and if we pay that there, like that is like he geeks out over it. He loves that kind of stuff. It's probably the last thing I want to think about. Like we are really opposite in a lot of things. And so it's not something that is enjoyable to me. And so I had to ask myself, what is something that is enjoyable to me about money? And start there. What is interesting to me about money? And whatever that is, like start there. It's not what my husband thinks is interesting. It just isn't. And we have very different ways of thinking about money and spending money and, all of that. But when I started to question and when I started to learn and be interested in things that interested me about money, we started to have better conversations about money, even though we have different opinions and values and different ways of spending. Like, even though that's still the same, when I started being interested about money in my own way and whatever I felt like was interesting, our conversations started to be different.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. And I think that's why the goals are so important, because just to learn money stuff, just to know it, that's not for everybody. Like,
Mhm.
not everybody is nerds like your husband and me. They're like, let's read the dictionary and let's Google what the, like,
Yeah.
I don't care. But when it's your goal and you see that whatever you're learning is a tool to get you what you want, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I
Right.
can liken it to technology. I always describe myself as bad with technology. I'm like 100-year-old depression grandma when it comes to technology. If there's a way to screw it up, I'm going to figure it out. It doesn't stick in my brain, right? But a few years ago, I wanted to start a business and I didn't want to have a shop, so it needed to be online, right? So suddenly, stuff that was like for me before, landing pages, lead funnels, automations, email sequences, like all these things that my brain would just be like before,
Mhm.
suddenly it's now a
Important.
method to get me what I want.
Mhm.
And now, when it used to take me a month to make a landing page, I can make a landing page in a day. I know what a landing page is, right? So you can just pick a topic, whatever topic it is. I'm sure everybody here has learned something new. Maybe they've mastered something that at one point in their adult life, they couldn't care less about, but something came in their life and then suddenly that was now a relevant topic. It doesn't mean I like technology. We're still not best friends. I can still figure out how to screw it up, but I'm driven to learn it. And the more I learn, the easier it is for me. And now, crazy, I could even be like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at that. I created some stupid canvas thing for a church the other day and it took me 5 seconds, when before I was like, oh, no, right? So that's how
Yeah.
money is. When you have your goals and it's something that you want and you set your sights on it, then now all these financial products and lingos and habits and blah, 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 it's now a tool to get you what you want. And that's the key.
And I think that we all that in the personal development world, it's like, what's your why? What's your why? You need to figure out what your why is. And I understand all of that, like whatever. But when you really get to the point where you're like, where you can feel it,
Mhm.
like you and I have talked about what my why is and where we're going as a family.
Mhm.
And if we have this conversation, for sure there's going to be some intense feelings, right?
Yeah.
Because it's so important to me. It is so important to me. It's important to my husband. It's important to my family. My family, my kids and my husband, we are all on the same page. It's all of our whys. Like, we all want it
Mhm.
badly. We can feel it. We can smell it.
Mhm.
It just is so important that whenever we want something that maybe isn't in the budget or whatever,
Mhm.
we just have to say, we are getting closer to what we want.
Yes.
Do we want to do that or do we want to go over here? And sometimes we choose it.
Mhm.
Sometimes we choose the thing, but we all know that we're choosing it and we all know what we're giving up to have it. It's very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yes. And there's a difference in the way your why feels and the way a should feel. Like, this is a whole
Mhm.
other conversation about goals, but when it's your why instead of your should,
Mhm.
feels so different.
Yeah.
Okay.
It feels very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.